All right, before anybody even says it, this season was slow. We all know that. We're well aware of that. But it was also to be expected because the season before, season 4, was basically insane the whole way through. Overall, was a major villain in the show. He got his whole arc that was developed through that season 4. It was a massive payoff at the end, massive fight, massive everything you want, massive consequences to a certain extent. It was to be expected. It was really to be expected. And I feel like animes, they need a break sometimes, especially in like shonens. You need a break in the action to kind of start building up for the next action set piece, right? You need to make these like scenes, you need to make these events mean something, and they don't mean anything if every time you have a fight there's no build up to it, right? So I feel like it's necessary, and unfortunately for this season it was basically all set up. Some of it was very good, some of it was not so great, or at least it was just kind of okay. And I kind of equate it to the first part of Attack on Titan Season 4, the one that just came out, in the sense that it's a slow build-up, but it's a slow build-up to something massive, completely massive. Although, obviously, in my opinion, Attack on Titan Season 4, or the first part, was better than My Hero Academia, the 5th season, right? But that's neither here nor there. I think that's pretty clear for most people. Anyways, the Class A versus Class B, or 1A versus 1B, like training arc at the beginning of the season is probably the slowest part of the entire season. The episodes with Bakugo and Deku are enjoyable. I think they're the best ones. I'd say Bakugo's episode is probably the best one of that whole like training arc at the beginning. But again, like I said, slow start to a slow season. Not really that surprising. Deku having new powers might turn some people off, just because, like, you know, if he becomes like someone who's like completely overpowered, sometimes people just lose interest. I feel like it doesn't really matter that much. If anything, it gives him more to do with its powers. It allows him to be more creative with what he does. You know, his abilities won't get stale. He'll be able to develop more. It gives his character more room to improve. I feel like when you compare the pros and cons, I feel like there's more pros in my opinion. And I also like how it was handled, because it's not like he got powers for no reason. He got them for a story reason, and it is fleshed out pretty good in the show if you've watched it. So I do like how his progression like happens, and I also like how his progression parallels Shigaraki's in an interesting way. And I'll get more into this later, but for now I'm just going to talk about the Endeavor training arc, which follows the Class 1A versus Class 1B, which it wasn't really a training arc, but it kind of was. I think that Endeavor part it's not long. It's definitely a little slow as well, though. The best parts are the parts with Todoroki's family, for sure. Those parts are actually very enjoyable because, again, it's a break in the action, and it gives you more information about a character that, in Todoroki's case, is a fan favorite character. Even Endeavor is a fan favorite character, and even if you don't like Endeavor, you probably at least want to know what makes him the way that he is, and kind of diving deep into his family history is a good way to do that. However, I'm pretty sure the consensus is that the best part of this season was the My Villain Academia stuff. That was crazy, bro. I didn't give a shit about Shigaraki before, but now Shigaraki might be goated. I'm not gonna lie. It made him such an interesting character, because before that we didn't know all that much about him. But you know, as usual, all it really takes is a tragic backstory, and instantly he's very compelling. At the very least, if you don't like him, he's at least compelling. We also understand his motivations better, and through him, I feel like we also learn more about All For One, since they obviously tried to hammer that comparison over and over and over. Like, as soon as you start kind of delving deep into that My Villain Academia like arc, they hammer that shit into your mind that you want to compare these two, and you want to compare All Might to Deku. That's like the first like 4 seasons of My Hero Academia, and then you want to compare All For One to Shigaraki is like the end of this season, right? So the parallels, like I said earlier, are very, very obvious throughout this whole season, and the payoff will obviously be next season. But again, you got to build up to this. You got to build up to this payoff. You can't just give the payoff, or else it doesn't feel like payoff. It just feels random. You have to build to such a fat payoff. The setup to next season, basically just an all-out war between the two factions, the heroes and the newly formed Liberation Army. I forgot what they were called exactly, but it's I think that war is gonna make a lot of people forget about the disappointment that they feel towards this season right now. So let's just all be a little patient. For this season, I'm gonna give it a B minus, only because of the My Villain Academia arc. I would give it maybe a C plus or a C if it wasn't for that, because again, it was a very slow season for the most part, and the beginning stuff wasn't all that interesting. It was a little bit of like, some like nice progression for Bakugo, some, crazy new powers for Deku, some revelations about like One for All that. It was cool, but it was nothing compared to My Villain Academia, and that really boosts this season up. And I feel like a B plus is a nice grade for it.